the fentanyl epidemic has cost thousands of lives throughout the U.S., and some families have called for reforms to hold drug dealers responsible.
Now, federal prosecutors are using a decades-old law to hold dealers accountable. Team 12's Michael Doudna talked with a family and a prosecutor about this new focus and what else should happen.
Amy Neville is left with photos and memories.
Fishing, the kid loved fishing.
Images of a son seemingly from another life.
You know, it's like a dream. Like I had this dream that this kid was part of my life. It's so hard to explain.
See, 2 years ago, her son Alex bought what he thought was oxycodone on Snapchat, but it was laced with a lethal dose of fentanyl.
The person that sold drugs to Alex has not been held accountable at all. In fact, he's actually connected to at least 3 other deaths around the same time.
And too often, Amy's story is too common, as multiple Arizona families have waited for someone to hold dealers responsible.
Usually the challenge is narrowing down that it was that one person's drugs that killed someone.
That's Stephanie Hepford, a U.S. attorney who prosecutes many fentanyl cases. And recently, she says attorneys are using the so-called Lynn bias law to go after dealers.
It's an enormous priority.
The law was passed in the 1980s after its namesake, Maryland basketball star Lynn Bias, died from cocaine. And it can send dealers to prison for decades if the government can prove a dealer sold a deadly drug.
That this is something we have to address.
In fact, just last month, a judge sentenced a Tucson dealer to 15 years in prison after he admitted to selling pills for $30 that killed a young woman.
Everybody needs that hard piece of evidence, and sometimes these cases just don't have it.
And for Amy, the hard evidence doesn't seem to exist, disappearing with Snapchat's temporary messages. But she believes going after dealers is just one step.
This guy goes to jail, there's 10 more drug dealers right behind him ready to take on anybody who wants something.
For her, it's about changing perspectives, spreading word about how victims are often deceived into what they are actually buying, and investigating these cases as homicides, not overdoses.
The more we can arrest these criminal drug dealers, the more the public might start to open their mind a little bit to, okay, we have a bigger problem here.